Art for Recovery is a member of the Mount Zion Health Information Resources Alliance and a stellar example of the positive impact a supportive care program can have on the lives of patients and their families and caregivers. Cindy Perlis, winner of the 2006 Blair L. Sadler International Healing Arts Competition, has been director of the program since its inception. In a recent interview, she told us how Art for Recovery started at Mount Zion.
In 1988, I met Dr. Ernest Rosenbaum, and I'm not sure if you've ever had a time in your life when you've met someone that you immediately have a connection with. And Ernie was looking for an artist to go to the bedside and was talking a mile a minute, and before I could even respond to him, he said to me, "You're hired." And I said, "How can you hire me? You don't even know me." And he said to me, "I know you well enough." And with that, I had the opportunity to absolutely change my life. I arrived at Mount Zion on the 5th floor, which was then the HIV unit. I was told to wear a mask, gloves, and a gown. I was told to disinfect the art materials. And I went into the first patient's room. A young man who had HIV was very sick because in those days, HIV was very different than it is today. This young man had lost his entire community. He had lost his family. He was pretty much alone. And there I was. I got on the bed with my mask and my gloves and my gown and all my art materials, and I held him in my arms. And I asked him if he was afraid, and with that he burst out crying, and he said, nobody's let me really talk about that. He said, everybody tells me I need to have a positive attitude, and I'm going to be all right, and I have to have hope. But in fact, he says, I'm really afraid, and I don't know what to expect. And that was really the beginning of Art for Recovery, because I listened to his story, I listened to his fear and his pain, and I hope I helped him to express in the best ways that he knew how what it looked like and felt like to be coping with AIDS. I would walk out of the patient's rooms in those days with the artwork in my hands, and I felt like I had a blessing. I was so taken by that work because some of it was extremely primitive. Most of it was the story of what it looked like and felt like to have AIDS. And soon I was invited to come to medical rounds, where the physicians and the social workers and the psychologists and the nurses would ask me to present the pictures and tell the stories in a way that they weren't being told the stories in their sort of physical assessment of the patient. That was pretty amazing to me. I gathered collection after collection of artwork. I started hanging them up on the walls. I would notice that the doctors and nurses would walk past and that they would respond to them and they would ask me questions, and they would in fact engage in very deep conversations with the patients on a different level. And the patients suddenly became not just known as someone who had AIDS, but they would become known as someone who did that artwork out in the hall. Did you see that one? And that was pretty amazing.
Since that distinguished beginning, Art for Recovery has seen extraordinary success and expansion, and today, patient-created artwork can be seen throughout the hospital. In addition to the artwork, Cindy has spearheaded other creative projects to help people cope with devastating illness. The Firefly Project brings together middle school and high school students to exchange handwritten letters and personal artwork with adult patients who are coping with life-threatening illness. Now in its 14th year, the program has expanded to include medical students and an annual reading of the letters. And Cindy has also been responsible for murals throughout the Mount Zion complex, including the Sutter Street entrance and the 5th floor of the main hospital, and on ceilings in the ultrasound suite at the Women's Health Center.
So Dr. Pearl has also asked me to paint 2 more murals. I hope these are my last, on the ceilings of the new ultrasound suites that will be at Mount Zion, and we're starting those this summer.
For more information about Art for Recovery, give Cindy a call at 885-7221 or visit the website